This is the brand new 7th generation 7 Series and what BMW likes to call a rolling cinema. And I'm in the land of Hollywood to experience just that. As you can see, this place is the newest and the most comfortable place that BMW has designed in the new generation 7 Series. I'm Roshan Sirohia and you're watching Top Gear India. Let me start with what I love the most so far. So I have a 5.5-inch touchscreen here on the side. I have to press a button and lo and behold, you see this beautiful 31-inch ultra-wide 8K display folding down, and it readjusts the position basis your viewing distance, and the blinds have come up, and it's a really crisp touchscreen where it's got Fire TV built in. So on the go, I can stream YouTube, I can stream movies. It's just phenomenal. I mean, you have to truly believe this. At night, the panoramic sunroof is now larger. You also get the option of a sky lounge, which sort of lights up at night. And did I mention, this car gets 36 speakers, a fantastic sounding Bowers Wilkins system to aid to that rolling cinema feel. And the powerhouse of all these controls rests in this 5.5-inch touchscreen at my disposal, and also my co-passenger at the rear gets it. I can control all functions from here, so including the display, including the modes, including the blinds, and of course this beautiful seating. I can go on reset and it will totally slowly in its own sweet time will go back to a sort of like an upright position. We get blinds at the rear, we get blinds at the back. The sunroof also gets blinds. I've got a central armrest. This is the 5-seater version, so this sort of moves up out of the way. You also get automatic doors on all 4 doors, which can be controlled via this infotainment screen up front. But here I need to just press this button and it will automatically move away. So it's adjusting the seats right now, as you can see. And I just have to push the door. I can actually automatically close the doors as well. It's simply ultra comfortable. And since we're on the topic of interiors, the front seat of the new 7 Series, what I'm sat in right now is the BMW i7. So let me give you a refresher. The BMW will be having a range of options. You've got a fully electric, which is the i7. You've got a plug-in hybrid, which will mostly not make it to our markets in India. And you have a petrol and a diesel. They've covered all grounds. So this electric i7, I can feel that the floor is a little about 40 to 50 mm higher than the regular 760i. But the interiors is the same, like the platform is common across all. It's missing a lot of controls, like a lot of buttons that I've come to expect driving other BMWs or other cars. First up, there's no door handle. I mean, you'll have to search for it. There are buttons for your door. So closing the door, opening the door, there's a button in the front, up behind this glass strip that is sort of very nicely done. You've also got a new 2-spoke steering wheel with the blue circumference, because highlighting it's electric. We've got a 12.3-inch central driving display and a 14.9-inch infotainment display. It is great, and the new feature on the BMW series, flagship series, is called My Mode. So there are no more what we call driving modes. They've got My Mode, so ranging from personal to sport, it's all via this button. Apart from that, build quality I think is like sort of fabulous, but one thing that is very un-BMW like, there's no sort of gear shift sticking out. They've gone for this crystal like knob. It's quite well damped to use. A crystal iDrive controller that is retained, which is amazing, and a lot of functions, a lot of options, which I will show you in a more detailed fashion right now. So coming to the central infotainment display, which is the 14.9-inch curved display towards the driver, this is where you've got a lot of touch functions up front now. So climate control buttons are gone. Now you control climate from this menu here. You've got a plethora of options. There's 4-zone climate control for all 4 passengers. You've got clock 2, which is a nice visualization of time, a little hard to read on the go. You've got weather, you've got personal assistant, so Hey BMW continues to feature. If the interiors weren't impressive, let's talk exteriors. So now the BMW 7 Series in the 7th generation is only available in a long wheelbase format. And this is almost 5.4 meters. The wheelbase is at 3,200 mm, which is fairly long. I mean, that's available now. In terms of design, you see a lot of it. It looks very edgy, very sort of, a lot of road presence, very muscular in the way it is now. And especially aided by those 21-inch wheels. This option right now is available only on the i7. It looks really chunky, and I think it adds that much more wow factor to the i7. You've got what I call crystal eyebrows now on the i7 and the 7 Series. The daytime running lights and the indicators are housed here. You've got the main headlight unit here. You've got a really large kidney grille, which are fused now. I call them nostrils. They've grown, I mean, a lot. And at night, you also have lights which on the circumference of the grille just creates that much more wow factor when you're driving at night. The rear of the 7 Series is where things get a little boring. I wish BMW did not lose the connected light bar that was available in the previous generation. But you get eyebrows now. You've got 2 chrome eyebrows above the tail lights. The boot space is fairly spacious. It's about 500 liters, and the electric car actually has a wider boot internally versus the 760i that we drove, which was the petrol or the diesel powered, which I think was a little narrow in the front in terms of storage. So first driving impressions on the BMW new 7 Series. So I've got the 760i, which is the full fat V8, pumping out 544 HP and some 700 ridiculous Nm of torque. It drives and feels like any luxury barge in the modern world. But what immediately strikes you is that this one is a little more comfort oriented, and the steering weight is sort of balanced. I mean, I have the options of changing modes, which is through this button called My Modes. I can go into Sport, and it kind of becomes a little hooligan. I can give you a sense. Can you hear that? And it builds up speed so well. But it's a lot of weight to carry. It's a lot of weight to carry, and you feel that. And suddenly, when you come across city speeds, so this is a lot of weight. It's 2.7 kgs, 2.7 tons of weight, which pushes this car in a 0 to 100 claimed of about 4 seconds plus. But simply put, this is an engine designed for performance, but it's a very muffled, very relaxing experience without being too aggressive. Steering weight, I would say, could have been better. I mean, at least in sport mode. There's no Sport Plus that we could figure out. And this is the full fat 760i, so I would have expected a little more aggression, but it's very, very restrained in the way it delivers power. The braking, like, I think because of the mild hybrid, the motor kicks in. You can see the energy regen happening, especially if you're on the personal mode. And that is a little spongy for that initial bit, but otherwise then it takes over. But what is the headlining feature, apart from the rolling cinema experience, is the way this car will transport you in utmost relaxation. It's fantastic. Like, the seats are super comfortable. Your seating position is fairly good enough. It's got a good view around. This is a bit thick, but the driving aids in the terms of the front camera is just simply superb. The driving directions, and when your navigation is on, it will show you when you're turning in. We figured out I missed a turn, I thought, but the the arrows were shown on the screen. I think that's fantastic. And the parking cameras, you've got level 2 ADAS on this car now, and in fact Germany and the US will be getting level 3, which is fully autonomous driving aids as an option very soon. So level 2 is, of course, self-steer and self-adaptive speed control on confined roads, on confined highways. You will ask yourself that, should I consider this over an S-Class or not? I think I will leave that question to when we have both the cars together. But if you want something that looks a little more edgy and drives like a BMW, this is the one. Few things I don't like about this car, starting with the fact that if I'm chauffeuring somebody around and somebody's watching that great movie on that theater screen, my entire rear view mirror is blanked out because the blinds come up and the fact that the screen folds down. So I'm only limiting myself to these two rear view mirrors and a feed on this. It's not ideal, it will take some getting used to, but yeah, I mean, I wish there was another sort of Land Rover style pop-up camera on the rear antenna that would do a better job. Another thing that will be a little bothersome is the fact that suddenly you're devoid of a lot of buttons because they're all behind this really beautiful looking crystalline screen. So you'll be fidgeting and there'll be like that initial learning curve on what button to press where, especially if I want to pop the door open. My hand straight goes out for a lever, but there's no lever there, and there's a button on the front dashboard, same thing there. And for all controls, you're totally reliant on the screens because yeah, those quick shortcuts are gone. So iDrive 8 is great, but it will take some getting used to nailing it. BMW claims a range on the i7 for about between 590 to 625 kilometers on the WLTP cycle, and we've been driving on these hills around winding roads to get a feel of how this car handles. I know it's a flagship 7 Series, it's not really meant to go very fast on twisty turning roads, but I tell you, you will be surprised. The body control on this car is outstanding for the kind of weight, and I think that's thanks to all the batteries being on the base of this car. So the power to weight ratio and the center of gravity, I think it's nailed on this car. This feels more planted and more balanced on these turns than the 760i. In fact, the 760i I mentioned had that wafty feeling. The braking, it will take you some getting used to. So it's got this initial sponginess and you're not sure whether you're going to stop in time or no. But as you keep sliding your foot into the pedal, it will brake, no doubt. But I wish that was not the way it's currently designed right now. In India, we will get the i7 in its imported form. So we are going to get the xDrive 60, so 4-wheel drive. This car features rear wheel steering. That's amazing in terms of maneuvers, and you also feel the car kind of squat when it moves between lanes and when you kind of like change direction. That's a nice feature to have. So the i7 does a 0 to 100 in a claimed 4.7 seconds, and that's thanks to north of 750 Nm of torque and 544 horsepower coming from these two front and rear motors. But what stands out is the ride quality. It's very much on the comfortable side. It's not very jarring, not very firm. I would say when it comes to handling, this car trumps the EQS by a mile. It feels so planted, so sure-footed over twisty roads, and there's not a lot of vertical movement. It's really, really confidence inspiring. Let me give you a sense of the urgency on the BMW i7. So I'm traveling at about 650 kilometers an hour, and as soon as you floor it, hear the sound. It just goes on and on. It's just amazing, and The body control there, it's really, really well sorted. Well done, BMW. So this is what the rolling cinema concept on the BMW 7 Series looks like. I'm in lounge seating position with my under-thigh support all the way up. I've got the theater screen, a 31-inch ultra-wide display in 8K. Watching a movie right now in 21:9 ratio. I can move it to 32:9 ratio, which is sort of full screen. And at the same time, it can be a 16:9, and I can move the display to the right using this position, and the controls here as well on the screen. You also can change the position of the theater screen, moving towards a little closer to you if that's more suitable to view. At the same time, the experience is sublime with the speakers on. So you've got 36 speakers in this car, and this is what it sounds like.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
But a mild calibration issue and pickup.
If you ever want to get...
It's really something. It sounds amazing. It can get very loud. I believe BMW truly has nailed the rolling cinema concept with the BMW 7th generation 7 Series. So I'm driving in America, and I have a Tesla in front, and that reminds me to mention that I think the Germans are catching up really well on the electric vehicle space. In fact, they're getting up there very fast. And my verdict on the 7 Series, the 760i and the i7 has to be that I think it's an immensely impressive car to drive. That, the body control, the way it takes turns, the comfort, it's supremely, they've taken the game far forward. The design, I will say it may be a love and hate, but personally, I'm loving it. It adds so much presence, so much, I don't know, it got that element of shock and awe, but people will talk about it. So that, definitely, if you're looking for that, no doubt. In terms of comfort, rear passenger comfort, this is up there with the best of the best. It's almost, you can travel in a very relaxed fashion. And I think that brings me to the point that BMW has designed the new 7 Series to be a more comfortable car to drive as well as to be driven in. And I think the fatigue will be so much lesser now than what it used to be in the older generation of BMW sedans. Let me know if you like the new 7 Series, and would you rate it as one of the most iconic BMWs ever? Let us know in the comments below. But drive safe. Until next time, take care.